One of the first sequences we want to film is the mating of the land iguana. Our whole project is really a bit of a gamble. Very little is known about these animals. We've pieced this story together from a naturalist who lived most of her life here, and nobody actually knows the full extent of the story. So we're hoping we're going to be able to get the story of the land iguanas and their migration up onto Fernandina. Their quest is the very summit of the volcano, where the females will eventually arrive. Fernandina is one of the most active volcanoes on Earth, and luckily for us, it erupted right at the beginning of our project. We went up to the site of the volcano, camped within a kilometre of the fountaining lava, and within 30 or 40 metres of where we were sleeping, lava flowed down like a giant river. As it entered the sea, huge billowing clouds of steam welled up. Some of the marine iguanas jumped into the water and were boiled alive. What a relief. It's been weeks of preparation, and now we're off as a family for our first long camping trip.
It takes about 2 days to get there. You're very tired usually because you've been packing all night before. The journey's rough, we're all a bit seasick.
I've just arrived at Cabo Douglas for the trip to go up to the top of the volcano to film the nesting land iguanas. We come here for 7 weeks. We're going to be camping on the beach, but the whole beach is just covered in nesting bluefoot boobies. So we're going to have to find alternative campsites.
We probably have 150 boxes of camera equipment, food, all our water. It's an uninhabited island. We're 2 days by boat from the nearest town. We have to be totally self-sufficient.
Most of the equipment, still some more to come.
There's always the thought that the volcano might erupt, and what would we do if there was an ash cloud and the lava started running down to the sea? So we try to plan that if that happened, we would have a way to escape. We have radios by which we can communicate and get help from passing boats or from the nearby town. But it's a feeling of excitement, really, when you land on the beach. It's a really pristine place. Juliet is Zoe's cousin, and she's come to help us look after Zoe while we're out filming.
Almost don't have to hold it up.
The seas around the Galapagos are really rich, and they support vast schools of tiny little fish. And these are the basis of the food chain for all the other bigger creatures that live there. And when the bait fish are gathered together, you get sometimes hundreds of different animals feeding on them all at once. This is a feeding frenzy. And this event was something that we really wanted to film.
Feeding frenzy?
The first thing we saw was the bluefoot boobies. And we thought, terrific, it's here, it's all happening. But as soon as you go to film it, it goes off the boil.
See the little baby one down here?
Little did we realise it would take us almost our whole 2 years in the Galapagos to get this story.
Next morning, before dawn, David and the boys set off to climb the volcano to try and find the land iguanas nesting. It's a feeling of anticipation, I think. We're really curious to know if the land iguanas will be up on top of the mountain. There's also the element of danger that at any moment the volcano might explode. So it's a real mixture of emotions as they set off.
Well, we left 4 hours ago, Cape Douglas, on our way up to the summit. The land iguana females will be migrating up all along these vegetation patches, and we're going up to get them laying their eggs in the volcanically warmed soil. It's a real trial working up here, a fabulous spot, but all our food's got to be brought up, all our water, all the camera gear, and the carriers have to lug all that stuff and keep us serviced up there for about the 12 or 14 days we'll be up on top. Nunca ayer. Fernandina is pristine. It's as it always was. It's probably got, we think, no introduced land animals of any sort, and probably the largest island on Earth still left untouched in terms of introduced animals and plants. So it's very special. Boy, all the sweat's going by. Anyway, I'm looking forward to getting up to Rim Camp. Fantastic. Little iguanas have arrived already. This is the fumarole nesting ground, and this is the main ash area where they dig. There's sometimes up to about 14 digging here, and we've counted just along this area here now, probably about 30 females that are lined along the crack, either ready to dig or finished laying. What we're trying to do is get the feeling of the migration of the animals onto the egg ground, so you need the camera moving with the animals to get that sense of journey. And this is their destination. So this is a focal point for an enormous amount of activity. But a lot of the activity up here actually happens underground, and to film the iguanas down in their burrows we use a probe lens. Fogging up again. As usual, there's always the problems of ash getting on the lens and it fogging up because of the humidity there, and so it takes a lot to get each shot. There's a lot of luck, a lot of serendipity. I think wildlife filming is a combination of good planning, flexibility, and being able to react and respond to the unpredictable. God almighty. We've now been up on top here at the fumarole nesting ground for a week, and there's been a gathering amount of activity. More and more of the females have been arriving, and the migration around the rim has just been absolutely phenomenal. Within a couple of hours, 10 of 15 animals might pass along the pathway along the rim and drop down onto the floor of the crater, where we too will be going in a couple of days.
We had to find a route down, and we looked all around the edge of the rim, and we found what looked like one safe route down. And then as the rocks expanded, the soil and the ash would break away and avalanches would thunder down the slopes of the volcano. It was very, very difficult climbing because we were all aware of one another's safety, so we took it in turns to manoeuvre carefully down the gully.
Here they are, down on the bottom of the crater. Just arrived. We found the nesting iguanas. There seem to be a heck of a lot of them still here. So we may have struck near the peak down here as well. Fantastic.
I'm really keen to get down to the lizard's point of view and see the claws actually clawing through the ash. The camera continually gets totally caked in huge masses of ash and dust.
A little bit too much dust, so after all this takes.
A cameraman's paranoia is all about scratched film. So every roll of film I had to dust myself off before I could change and put my hands into the changing bag. We think the iguanas come here to lay their eggs because of steam that percolates up through the ash and warms the soil. And Dee Dee, who's our guide and video man for the film, is really fascinated by this, trying to discover what in fact is the reason for them choosing particular places to nest.
See it shoot up past 120 at the top there.
It did seem that these animals probably had some sort of heat sensor and were able to calculate the ideal temperature for incubation.
Down at the camp, we're feeling pretty nervous about the whole thing. We would look up at the summit of the volcano and we would see these big red clouds of ash spewed up into the air, and we'd think, oh, it's another landslide. I hope they were not underneath that one.